Hi everyone, this is Miss P, and this is a review on how to add fractions with a common denominator. Often when we talk about adding fractions with a common denominator, you might see something like this: 2/4 plus 1/4. In this case, you can see the denominator in the first addend is fourths, and the denominator in the second addend is also fourths. Anytime we have a common denominator in an addition problem, you simply add the numerators, 2 plus 1, put the new numerator in the sum, and then carry that same common denominator into the denominator of the sum. Let's talk about the reason for this. When we're adding a certain number of fourths to another number of fourths, 2/4 plus 1/4, our answer is going to be whatever the total number of fourths is. So in this case, we're breaking a whole into 4 parts 2 different times. The first time, we're using 2 out of those 4/4, and the second time we're using 1 out of those 4/4. So in order to find our sum, we're going to basically take each shaded section, each shaded fourth, and bring them to our sum. What that looks like in this simpler case is that you take your 2/4 and add 1/4, and it gives you 3/4. Now, sometimes you might run into something a little bit different, like this: 2/4 plus 3/4. Now we have the same situation where we share a common denominator in both addends. They're both telling us that there's a certain portion of fourths that are being added to another portion of fourths. In this case, we're adding 2/4 plus 3/4. Now in this case, when we go to add our 2/4 plus our 3/4, what we'll find is that we have more than 4/4. 4/4 is equal to a whole, and so what we're going to come up with is a fraction that represents more than 1 whole. In this case, what that looks like is 5/4, or as seen in the visual below, 1 whole and 1 additional fourth. So 5/4 could also be written as 1 and 1/4. It's important to note that the same rule, that if you have a common denominator, you simply carry that denominator to the sum and add the numerators together to get your new numerator, can be applied to any common denominators. It doesn't have to be simple denominators like fourths. In this case, in this example, we see 13/29 plus 10/29. So in the same way that we did with fourths, once we notice that the common denominator exists, each of the addends share the common denominator of 29, we know that we can carry that denominator to the sum. The reason for that is that in each case, in each addend, we've broken a whole into 29 parts. The first addend is telling us that 13 of those 29 parts, or 13/29, exist, and the second addend is telling us that 10 of those 29 parts exist. So 13/29 plus 10/29 is going to equal a certain number of 29ths, and we simply take the two numerators, 13 and 10, and add them together to get 23, which gives us a final sum of 23/29.